Okay, hello to all, and now the panel is about the current situation in the collecting system in Europe, most of all. And so what we have on the panel is a broad overview from several perspectives, from approaches, new approaches to collecting societies, as well as artists, and from the commercial perspective. And so just to introduce the people themselves, I'll give it over to Mike first.
Okay. My name is Michalke. I'm one of the initiators of the C3S project, which is short for Cultural Commons Collecting Society, and an approach to found a new collecting society for the digital age. I leave it to that for the moment.
And my name is Kelvin Smits. I'm head of Younison Europe, the sole lobby firm actually giving the voice of an author, of thousands of voices, but actually 7,000 authors up to the top of the European level to have laws apply that suit artists instead of collecting societies.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Bastion and I'm a singer-songwriter, primarily independent singer-songwriter of the modern day and age, meaning I'm trying to make sense of all of this for myself. And I'm also here on behalf of the FAC, which is the Featured Artists Coalition, which acts as a body for featured artists in order to give them all one voice and also in order to educate.
Hi, my name is Paulo Leite. I'm from Portugal. I'm here to present a new society, collective society that is born in Portugal. I'm also a lawyer in Portugal. That's I know a little bit of what is right, and I've been a musician. So that's what we're going to talk about new collective society.
Hello, my name is Shigs Amemiya. I'm actually Australian-Japanese, but I come from Switzerland, and where I started a company called iMusician. We're probably best known for digital music distribution, putting your music into iTunes, Amazon, Spotify. But at the end of the day, what we do is actually we manage data. That's your copyright data. Once we've got the data, we can do publishing administration, performance rights administration at GFLL. We can do commercial licensing, we can do distribution, we can do everything. The reason I'm here is because the more we look into, especially royalties, the more we find that you guys are musicians, you only want to make music, so you don't really think about copyrights that much. And that's okay, but you're leaving hundreds of millions in uncollected royalties. And we actually estimate that GEMA is sitting on 500 million to 1 billion euros in uncollected money, which belongs to you guys.
So I think that, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is the right point to where Kelvin can step in and give a short overview where the challenges and the problems lie in the current collecting system in Europe.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Basically we started a couple of years ago with Younison due to the fact that we were seeing from our artists that a lot of digital mechanical rights weren't being paid, which were traceable. So we extrapolated the amounts of money that were not being paid to our artists, and we came to about 5 million in Belgium. We put the pressure on the press, and they paid up Sabam, that's the Belgian HERMA. That was the start of Younison actually, and then we went to investigate and actually found that in Europe alone the business model of the collecting societies of collecting money without data and then sitting on money leads to stockpiles of money, about a very conservative, I guess, 5.6 billion euros in banks for more than 5 years, which is basically what the system is about: sitting on money, getting interest on that, investing it in real estate, even on the stock exchange, and then after 5 or 6 years when nobody knows anymore whose money it is, then they can redistribute it between the usual suspects, the big companies. And so the idea was for Younison to make a united voice at European level, and we succeeded in getting our main issues on transparency, accountability, and technology into the new directive that has been they've been working on the Commission for 4 years already, and it's just been passed. We managed to get all our issues in because we were the biggest group of 6,000 authors that have signed up to that. We talked to all the main commissioners like Nelly Cruz and Michel Barnier. We made our point, and it's been passed by the Parliament now. The only thing that they've managed to be cut out by the lobbying efforts, ironically paid by the money that's not being paid, because that's the GEMA and SACEM, they use the money that they don't pay to the authors to get against to get laws objected against the system, and so they managed to get the data thing out, which is the most important, because without data, transparency and accountability just stays law and words and no action. So our next steps need to be to get back into the Parliament with some big names. Lots of big names do support us, and via the FAC also, Pink Floyd and Tom York and stuff. They've signed up to our thing and saying, look, it's not, we don't need money from others. We need our own money, and we need young people to be able to sustain their passion for music, and we don't want to be involved in that stuff. So there is a lot of work to be done, but the system itself, the old-fashioned collecting society system, is trying to keep itself alive, and it's not helping creativity in Europe. It's actually suffocating European middle-class creativity for the sake of a few big companies, and that's really a shame. It won't last. So basically that's what Younison's trying to do.
Well, thank you, and now I think it's the perfect introduction to Roxanne and Bastion, and we're glad to, quite at the last minute, we have now a representative from the Featured Artists Coalition, who is one of the few organizations representing artists, and Roxanne is here as a member of FAC, and I think it's pretty good to have her here to give her perspective on it.
Thank you. I hope so. The problem, in a way, and I am making this up as I go along, but the problem is threefold. Sort of, firstly, that by nature, I'm clearly the odd one out here. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I do not have a technical background, and inherently, artists are not interested in copyright, right? Because their nature and their business is so far removed from all these technical things that it's very, very hard to reconcile those two different universes. But moving on from that, the second problem, if you will, would be that there is no guidebook for making a living out of music, and it's very much a different landscape than it was years ago. So for me, as an independent artist today, you step into it and discover all these things, how it works, from how do I book a gig, to how do I register my song to a collection society, to, oh, I actually receive money for copyright even when I perform live. You learn all these things very much on a learning by doing and day-to-day basis. And there is no one point of call to educate yourself about this, and that is exactly why I'm really happy to have found an organization like the FAC, and also Younison, and it's fantastic that they are working together. So, and then you educate yourself about these things, and step by step you realize just how unfair and criminal the current systems are. My main issues as an independent artist is the way in which the collection societies are structured and distribute in a way that is just completely skewed to the old way and the very, very select few who are sitting on the top. And it can feel very lonely at the bottom, and it can feel very much like a lose-lose situation. So I'm very, very pleased to be part of this panel here today, to actually be here with people who are all on the same page. We all agree on what's wrong with the current system, and luckily I can now hand over the microphone to very clever people who have some new ideas.
Yeah, right. And now that's the point where we can present actually two approaches to a kind of reforming the system of collecting and again, to collecting societies, you might say, okay, we have had before, but these are new approaches to collecting societies. One is from Portugal, it's SIGA, and the other is C3S, which had some coverage right here quite a bit. And Paulo and Mike will introduce you to both models right now.
Okay. In Portugal, we are dealing with the same problems that you deal in Germany. There are two collecting societies in Portugal, one that represents the authors and the other one that represents the artists and the producers. They don't compete each other because they represent rights, different types of rights from the artists. So they are two monopolies in Portugal. They go, simplify, they go to the bars, they go to the restaurants, they go to the discos, and everybody has to pay them to pass the music. And we are talking about millions every year. And the same problem in Portugal, we don't know where the money goes. Well, I know where the money goes. Because there's something that it's not working also in Portugal. No one gives the playlist to the society collectives, and they don't care, because if they don't know what music is passing on the bars, on the restaurants, on the discos, they collect it anyway, and then the distribution is only for. Sorry about, it's only for the friends. I work also in a department in Portugal that it's supposed to fiscalize this collective society. It's for the government. No one do nothing. They just do what they want. No one fiscalize them. No one see where the money goes. Everybody knows they collect a lot of money. They don't represent all the artists. No way. But like I said, if you want to pass music on the bar, on a restaurant, on a disco, you have to get that license. If you don't have that license, it's a crime. So everybody pays the license. Even the music or the musicians are not represented for the existing societies. I know both of the presidents. So everybody now knows the problems that's going on with the collective societies. So we're trying to create a new society, collective society in Portugal. It's called SIGA. Is exactly to compete with existing societies, but to do the job a different way. We want to represent a lot of artists that they are not represented on the existing society. I can give you an example from the DJs, electronic movement, electronic music, dance music. No one is represented on the old society in Portugal. But they go to every place and they collect money like they represent that kind of musicians, but they don't represent. So we want to create a new society when everybody can come, and when we will be able to work, we can promise that the money we will collect will be finally divided for the musicians that pass on the radio, on the bars or on the discos. It's a hard job to do. We don't tell anybody until now in Portugal that what we are doing, exactly because we know in Portugal, because it's a small country, everybody knows everyone. If I told them that I was trying to do this, probably I would have some problems. So I keep reserved in Portugal doing this work until it's approved by the government. It's by the Minister of Culture, something like that. When it will be approved, we will finally have an approach from communication to tell to the people that we exist and we can be in the market and compete with the old society collective. So now I pass.
Okay. As Roxanne already said, we are basically all on the same page. We have heard about the problems all the same, and obviously Germany is not the only country which has some problems with the current collecting society system. Most of us in our team didn't have anything to do with collecting societies a few years ago, but the more we looked into it, we thought, you can't be serious. And when we really looked at the details, and we didn't want to try to solve the symptoms, but the core, the reason for all of the symptoms. So we wanted to find a cure for the problem from where it starts. And we think that the most basic problem in collecting societies usually is that they are not really democratic. That there's something like the top 5% who make the choices for the whole collecting society. And if those top 5% are the same who make the most money out of the collecting society, you might think that they are not very eager to change the way that this collecting society is actually working. So one of the first things that was clear for us was that if we do something new, if we make a new collecting society, it has to be democratic from the start. So that was the reason why we chose to make this collecting society a European cooperative. And European means that we also think that collecting rights management doesn't really work well in the digital age with nation boundaries. So the nation states is something like, on the internet, not so really important anymore. So we want this to become, over time, a European collecting society. And we are very eager to work together with you from Portugal.
Yeah, so...
Let me say exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, because the difficult to create a collective society, it's a long job to do. The existing societies are already working about 80 years. So they do the process along the years. We're now just starting, so it's not a thing that next year it will be done, or probably in 5 years, I don't know. But the most difficult parts of creating a collective society is that we need representativity. It's not enough for me to create in Portugal a collective society with 10 or 20 artists. Then what I will do? I do nothing. So I need representative. I need more collective societies in Germany, in France, in the same base, in the same model, with a new vision of this, to try to have representative. And then in Portugal I can say, well, you can pass this music on your bar, on your disc, or on your radio, because we are a lot of artists and we represent a lot of musicians, so you can work with us. We need representativity. There's two ways from doing that. Or the traditional way is one of the ways, is going to CISAC after we are recognized in Portugal. And I don't know if you know CISAC, I will try to explain. It's like the umbrella of the old collective societies. They are all affiliated into that society, so then all the existing societies represented all the musicians and musics around the world, the authors. So that's one of the processes. When we are recognized in Portugal, probably next year, I suppose, we are going or to CISAC to have this representative around the world, or appearing new society collectives around Europe, and we talk with the C3S and another societies that bring on, and we can get unify and deal with this problem in a different way, with a different vision, with transparency, giving the money to the authors, giving the money to the artists, because the old and the traditional societies don't want to do their jobs. I know why. Because they feel right how they work now. They collect a lot of millions and divide, I'm repeating, the way they want. They need competition, they need new collective societies, they need someone that appears that give a new vision to the traditional vision.
Okay, now to complete the round of overviews, I'll give the word to Shigs Amemiya, and so he can give an insight into the commercial perspective of the topic.
So, good afternoon. I come from the business side. I'm not a publisher. I'm not from a collection society. We specialize in data aggregation, collecting your data for digital distribution, which can also be used for publishing or whatever else. And the more you look into this, you would be dumbfounded exactly how much money you guys leave up there uncollected. It's either uncollected because you're not educated or trained to look after the business side of music. It's not collected because it's incorrectly collected or incorrectly registered. And after about 5 to 7 years, your money is given away, pro rata of outgoing payments. So if Lady Gaga's payments were 15% of all of GEMA's payments that year, then your money goes mostly to her. And it's ridiculous, because in most cases, your name is actually on it. It says, Tom Franks, €15.70. They might not have your address, but they know that the money belongs to you. But because you're not clever enough to collect it, they give it away, pro rata of outgoing payments. We estimate that GEMA alone is sitting on 500 million to 1 billion euros in unclaimed royalties. They could spend this money on educating you guys. They could do television campaigns. They could do massive initiatives to say, hey, 500 million in unclaimed revenues. Do you want to come and collect it? Here's a list of the songs. They could publish a list. Sound Exchange, a US collection society, has done this. On this list was Rammstein, right? Which shows you how ridiculously complex the system is, where even managers can't figure out how to collect this money. I sat down in a taxi with Tim Renner one night and we were discussing it, and we couldn't even agree on how the system worked. You put managers in the same room, they don't know. It's so ridiculously complex. The biggest problem today is, despite all this internet democracy and being empowered by the internet, I've got control over my own career. The simple fact is, musicians don't want it. You're musicians because you want to play music, not manage a band, manage the bookings, do all the copyright administration, do the marketing, right? You want to make music, and that's really okay, because I'd rather hear music from musicians than music from accountants. But then the rest of the industry have to create a system that works for all of us. If you knew exactly when and where the collection system was collecting money for you, you would be amazed. You would really, really be amazed. For every download that iTunes sells, they're paying GEMA. Spotify as well, 0.0001 cents to GEMA. There's every time a 17-year-old band plays in a venue, that venue is playing pro rata of capacity. You know, if you press your own CDs as a label, right? So you're a small DIY, you haven't found a label, you're a DIY musician, you press your own CDs, you get a press exemption because, let's see, you get a press exemption because they're your own CDs, so you're your own label. There are even, IFPI is even holding money for you, the producer portion for radio and television airplay. You don't know that. And the majors and the labels aren't going to tell you either, because what we do, I used to work for a label, is we would actually put a small line in one of your contracts, your artist contracts, and we would collect that on your behalf. And if you didn't come and collect it, we'd sort of kind of keep it, right? So there are, so for example, if you press your own CDs, if you've got radio or television airplay with that recording, then IFPI is actually sitting on money for you based on your ISRC codes, which you can collect by registering at IFPI, but most of it's forgotten, and they plan on it being forgotten because then they can keep it, right? So,
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because it's everything you said is true, and I couldn't agree more. But that's still leaving out one thing from the independent artist point of view, because not registering things properly is one thing, being uneducated about it is another, but then there's the matter of how the actual nature of the collection works. So I'm not sure how technically minded everyone is in the audience, so forgive me if you all know this, but in case you don't, I'm just going to give one example and then ask how the new collection societies might deal with that, and yeah, what your opinion is on it. But for me, as an independent artist who not everyone's heard of, I get a lot of airplay on independent radio stations all across the world, and my song can be played in a club or in a restaurant, and despite the fact that I'm correctly registered with PRS, which is my collection agency, I never see that money, and the reason I never see any money for any of that is because none of these stations, although they pay the PRS, and in Germany, although they pay the GEMA, they don't give an account by account list of these are the songs we've played. PRS take the money off them and then estimate which songs they think they probably played, which is bizarre because, well, no one from PRS is going to sit there and say, well, there's a 0.2% chance that they may have played Roxanne de Bastion's new single. It's probably, well, it's a 50% chance that they may have played One Direction's new single. And so by that very nature, that is just so unfair. So by that nature, all that money that that belongs to me goes somewhere else. And what baffles me, apart from the fact that they've been getting away with all of this for so long, what I don't understand is how technology hasn't provided an answer to that yet, or how they could not have used that. So I would like to ask you how...
I'd like to say two things. There's two ways to front this, or in a political way, but I read the directive, but it doesn't go so farther that the actuality, the society collective that exists now, that has to go so far as you wish, to pick up the music and divide for which artist or for each music they play. Must have be or a political force to the old societies do that, or there's the other way. I think it's the most important way that we are trying to do. It's to create new societies, compete with them, prove to them that it's possible to recover that information and divide exactly point by point, music by music, with informatic systems, with informatic guys. I know I'm not for informatic, but I know it's possible to do that. Someone next will talk about the box that can collect the playlists from all the houses, all the discos, all the bars. So that's the way that we have to do, because they don't want to adapt a new world because they have the money, all the money.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's not in their interest.
So I think one of the ways, if you don't mind, is pure new collective society in Germany, in Portugal, in French, in England, with new vision, new guys, with new. That's the way. It's the only way, I suppose.
We defined the whole scala of possible ways of getting data because, well, 40 years ago, the way collecting societies worked today would be reasonably okay. I mean, you couldn't do it better, but we're in the 21st century already, a bit in the 21st century. Data is everywhere, and so technology isn't the issue. The technology is there, been there for years. The issue is that they don't want it, and that's the whole thing. So the whole thing that we have to think about, if you want to change something, it is political. There's nothing else. It's only political. And we've seen when we were mounting pressure and we went all the way, and we had backing in the parliament from lots of MEPs. It's the lobby work of the big collecting societies, GEMA, SACEM and SGAI, stopped the whole thing there. It's only political, because technology, we laid it all out. We had a big team working everything out. Every single aspect of collection can be retrieved in a data stream. And if you would think about it, the future of a new collecting society should be basically data monger. Collecting the data is one thing. When you collect money, you collect data, and then you can send the data directly, because money takes long because you've got distances to travel and stuff, and you have to check things, and there's mistakes. But the data will give you a direct insight to the author, and the author is very interested in that data. All the people that are busy managing authors are very interested in that data, because a smaller budget that is available now to do promotion can be directed directly to where it's going to count. And so I think it will be even worth some money for those people. So I think if collecting societies would see that, a modern collecting society is actually, in the first place, a data collection society, and in the second place, it delivers the money that they've collected, and then the author has got a double check to see, is this correct or not? And if it's not correct, you can go to another collecting society and have competition. Now, everybody just sits there like a sitting duck and doesn't got anything to do but nod and be happy. And that's basically, it is very dangerous. It's a political issue, because even if the best ideas and you go far, the power of the big collecting societies is not to be underestimated. They've got a lot of the power resides in the fact that they give lots of cultural deductions, and they pay for cultural things, events in the country. And that way, they uplift a piece of the taxpayer. Normally, a taxpayer would pay for cultural events, and so the Minister of Culture is relieved of some taxpayers' money that comes directly from the authors. That is very strange. Also, authors paying for the cultural things happening, and that's why the Minister of Culture and these collecting societies are very close, because they pay the check for lots of things, and that's key to. That's why everything stays the same at the top level. The collecting societies have got real good contacts with the Ministers of Culture always, and they claim to be speaking for the culture and everything, and that's why it's very hard to change something.
Like I said, I work also in a department in Lisbon that it's supposed to fiscalize the societies. And no one does nothing. Everybody knows what is happening, but no one's doing nothing. Everybody talks on the, how we say, corredores. Everybody talks around the house, but no one does nothing, and everybody knows, so that's a political issue. So, but I believe even the politicians doesn't do nothing, we can try to do something different. I'm talking here in Germany. If I was invited to talk about this in Portugal, I won't talk. I know that before I appear, I already will be there. So here I'm much free to talk. In Portugal, like I said, it's a small family. We want to give step by step to grow up and grow up. It's a long way, but I will live for that, I hope.
I would like to comment on the technical side, as you mentioned. There are already companies in the market who are monitoring hundreds of radio and TV stations in real time. So you can register your songs there, and they will tell you where your song is played. So this data is available, and actually every collecting society could use it, but they won't. So this is where we will step in. We will say, okay, we want this data because we want artists to get paid. So that's the whole purpose of a collecting society.
So maybe we've heard of all the shortcomings now, and but combining all the different approaches and the different perspectives of all of you here on the stage, do you see any ways how maybe all of the parties presented right here might cooperate to find a new solution, or to find new approaches, to find new ways?
If I may, I think the only way that the collection system is going to evolve is through competition. Whether it be internal competition, which is CS3, that's why I really support your ideas. Because just having you in the same playing field as GEMA, they're going to realize, oh, we can't just sit on this money. Okay. So competition. From the private industry side, myself, if we grow at the rate that we're growing at the moment, we are going to be 4 or 5 times bigger in terms of membership than GEMA, which will give us the political power to say, GEMA, if you don't look after our German artists better, we're going to take them all and put them with Suiza. Right? So this sort of competition, and I believe that through competition, the collections system is going to get better. To give you an idea of this rat's nest of a collection system that we have in Europe, we have something like, Switzerland has a population of 8 million, so 1/10 of Germany. We have got 4 collection societies, each with their own management, each with their own building, each with their own administration, and they're using my money. Germany is probably better. You've got 80 million, 85, and you've got less, 3 collect 2 or 3 collection societies, I guess, GEMA, GVL.
No, there's 12.
Oh. In Europe, there are 250 overlapping, semi-bankrupt, useless collection societies burning your money, right? And so the only way to get rid of them is open competition within Europe, and for you guys to be more engaged because it's your money.
And I think we can stress again, so we've talked about the fact that it is a political issue and there's no way around that, and the importance of one voice, because in so many of these discussions, like it's so seldom to hear people who have the artist's interest at heart. There are always several objectives, and for some reason, even though this is actually about music and art, that, you know, so often sort of is so far down on the agenda. So it's so important to have Younison and FAC, and to actually have a place where artists on all sorts of different steps of the ladder can come together, and to see that we're not only competition, we're also all in this together, and if we actually all come together, we can make a difference.
May I shortly? I think what we really need to accomplish is to work all together in this. So firstly, there's the artists who want to be treated fairly. Then there needs to be political campaigning and lobbying to really force laws to look like what artists and consumers really want, what they want the laws to look like. Then you need the collection societies who are willing to implement these laws and wishes. And in the end, you need the companies, the private companies, commercial companies, who are actually using these services. So I think that this is, it won't really work if we don't do it together.
Yeah, the whole thing with political action, of course, is also the threat of what happens if you don't follow. If steel workers don't get paid properly, they go on strike, and if the farmers don't get paid properly, they go and block the whole of Brussels. If the law or the directive on collective rights management gets nipped in the bud, there's nobody there. And that's basically what's the problem. How can artists make clear to the politicians in en masse that it's not okay to be that they don't like this anymore? And that's basically also, they should be informed. And that's what Younison has been trying to do. We've been growing and getting more people, and also getting some big names. It's also interesting if you go to speak to them, to the commissioners, if you get the doors go open. But basically, the tactic of the collecting societies in the end is always about, well, everybody's happy because look, there's nobody crying on the streets, there's nobody protesting, so it must be good what we're doing, and that eventually pushes the envelope towards the fact, well, let's keep it on the status quo, let's not change the winning team then. We should be more visible, there should be more actions done. It hasn't got to be on the streets of the European Parliament, but it can be online. It can be something, for instance, like everybody does 1 minute of silence on a very original way, and make a big stream of, and get it together and get it in the parliaments, that everybody says, look, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are not okay with this. Okay, that will impress. That's the way you change the laws, and the laws are a framework for competition and new firms to step in, because these old companies are big trees, and they take all the light of the ground for new initiatives. If you have a few trees fall down, the light will come on the ground, and the new initiatives can get the chance to grow. And that's basically what the new legal frameworks could do.
That's such an important, sorry, just really quickly, but that's such an important point, because we had this musing the other day, but musicians are never going to go on strike, because we don't do what we do for money. Like, we do what we do because we have to do it. So that's why it's always so difficult to unify artists and get them to, you know, rally together for a cause like this, because we're weird creatures. And I love getting to know the new models that you're coming up with, because it just seems they're so much more suited to what it's like to be a musician nowadays. Like, I'm a musician, that means I can't have a boss. and I don't want anyone to tell me what I can and can't do with my songs. And I want to, if I want to give one of my songs away, or if I say, yes, you can remix that one, but I don't want you to remix that one, I should be able to do that. And I'm really glad to know that there are new organizations coming out now that support that kind of a model. So thank you.
Okay, so I think this is a good point to start the round of questions from the audience. So if any one of you has a question to come up with, just make a stand and...
One question. I have a question to the guy from Belgium. You said that they managed to keep the data out. Can you specify this process a bit more? The lobbying of the SABAM kind of managed this. What does this mean, and what is it about that they kept the data out? Does it mean the digital distribution, or...?
No, the technologic side that we had built into the fact that, look, the new directive was about transparency and accountability and a reform of the way collecting societies are run. That was one part of the directive that we were interested in, and the only way to get transparency and accountability out of the this is a word and it sounds good to practical usage is to get on the floor a way. We proposed a sealed bid envelope deal with companies that really do it already, to get information from restaurants, cafes, bars, clubs, radio stations and everything on a uniform, harmonized way that is pan-European, because every time you start with that with collecting sites, oh, but it's too expensive. No, we can't do that, it's too expensive. But if you spread the costs over Europe with one uniform system, it's a big deal, and you can beat the people that are doing it down, because it's a real money maker for them too, even if it's a little fraction. So that was the thing that we had actively put into it, because Miss Nelly Cruz, who is the Digital Agenda Commissioner, she was really very interested and she pushed for it. It was in the first deal. We had the MEPs, Honeyball, the British MEP, and the Pirate Party MEP, Engström, who had also presented that in, but it got pushed out in the end due to the Gallo, that's the one heading it, who is very close to the collecting society, SACEM, and they managed to get that piece out, because it was the only thing that was really going to change something in the field, because then you have data. You can, as an author, you can start comparing collecting societies to what they do for you, because you've got something in hand, you've got your usage in the hand, and that was everything. So we really have, there's still time to do that. We're working on that, but it's the first round they got that out. So that's basically what I mean with the data, the technology out.
So that means that So that means that the people still have to send playlists in and all that kind of stuff. And they don't
send playlists in, and they use very general, and they use very general thing, the top 50 for discotheques where nothing is played and stuff like that. Restaurants and bars, what you were playing, they're not interested. So it's really very general.
Hello, I'm also in a band, and I just wanted to say just to that point something, because we all do have the technique today. We have programs like Last.fm, where it shows you which songs you played the last 5 years or whatever. We have programs like Simfy, which can from the sounds of a song can say you which song you are hearing right now. And when there would be a piece of software which the gamer would use in the clubs, or you can program that. That's no problem. We've got the technologies; it's all there. And when we would have a platform for that software, where everyone just installed in the hotels or in the clubs or wherever, we just can hear which songs have been played over the last year. Then you would really have the totally correct data in what they played, and the money would go to the people they just wrote that song. So whereas it's just all about the politics on the top.
Can I tell you an anecdote? For instance, the big deal with in France, SACEM got a deal from YouTube. There was not disclosed how much they got paid, but they got paid a massive amount for all the plays of everything that SACEM represents. And how do you think that money got redistributed? Because you can say, okay, this is the moment when it started, that we can get all the data from these are the views, and how many views were there this year? This is the amount per view, Pats, and we give it. No, they just took the top 50 again, up, and they gave that. So even if you build out your career as a young artist on YouTube and stuff, you're not getting see any money of that. So that's the end of it.
And to be honest, that's why we're here. The system is broken. I think all of us agree that there is inherent value in the copyright system, in a unified copyright system. I'm sorry to say, but I think in 5-10 years, I don't think you'll be making any money from your recording sales at all. And your most reliable source of income is probably going to be this copyright system that we're talking about. All the technology exists today. They know exactly what's being played where, but there's no incentive to change it. There's no incentive to rock the boat, because they collect automatically the same amount whether you collect it or not. They collect the same amount whether it's divided into 100 different pieces for the top 10 percentile, for the top 10 big artists, or into 1 million small pieces for all the small artists. And for administration, it's actually cheaper to stick to their existing system. So it's going to take a courageous copyright. It's going to take entrepreneurs within the copyright system, in private industry as well, to say, hey, enough is enough. This is the 21st century. This is the data age. We have all the data. We know that my music is played. Now give me my fucking money.
And I'd like to add that it's not that we haven't tried to change the system. Before we started the C3S project, we talked to people from GEMA for years. And after those years, we finally said, okay, it's probably not enough to want something to change. If you really want something to change, you probably have to do it yourself. And that's what we're doing right now. And if you feel that this is a cause worth investing in, we are right now running a crowdfunding campaign to get this thing started. You can all go to startnext.de and give us some money to really make this thing fly. You're welcome.
I have one question to Sega and C3S. You talked a lot about your plans. When you're gonna actually start?
Well, I suppose if everything goes all right, next year it will be approved. It's necessary to be approved in Portugal, in my department. But I hope so. Next year it will be started. It will be step by step, because in Portugal we are a small country. We cannot represent a lot of artists.
Yeah.
Not? Okay. In Portugal we're just a small country. We never represent a lot of artists. So we are depending also from a project here in Germany that appears and then can work, and we can work together. Because in the new directive, European directive, there's a new way to give license. They call European license. I can give my artists in nonsense to a CS3 to represent my artists all around the world. If you have the mind, if you have the system to distribution, to make the distribution all around the world or the European, we can make a contract. You can represent our artists, and that's the license they call European license, multi-territorial license. So this is a long way. We are just starting in Portugal. Next year I hope so something appear, then we are hoping in Germany also appears too, and keep going on.
We're working on this for the past 3 years, and we will found the actual cooperative September 25th during the Reeperbahn Festival in Hamburg. And the process for founding a collecting society is different in each country. So in Germany we need to apply before the Patent and Trademark Office for the license, and to do that you actually must have the collecting society ready to go with artists you're representing, and we think that this will happen in about the next 2 or 3 years till we are finally accepted as a collecting society.
You need 3,000 members, yes? No.
Well, the number is an estimate because the patent office won't tell you how much repertoire you need exactly.
In Portugal, you just need 10 members. it's not useful.
Okay, so I think we're through with time, and so thank you for your attention and that you've been here, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all who've been here.